Just knowing that your town where you grew up in, your island is not what it was before. The hangouts I used to go to, demolished. They don't exist. My mom was without power like over a month. People who are here, who are Puerto Rican, we felt like, what can we do? It's the worst thing ever, knowing that maybe they're not okay and we're here. It was horrible.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 53 of the Andrew Deitch podcast. What's up? Happy Monday. Got some big news about statistics, because I know you all love statistics. But according to my Squarespace analytics, for the past 7 days, we've had over 1,000 people accessing the podcast per day. And on Saturday and Sunday, we had over 1,100 people accessing the podcast. So that is bonkers. That is absolutely crazy. It's still blowing my mind. Still growing very strong. And I really appreciate you hardcore peeps out there listening to every single episode. But if you haven't listened to my podcast before, welcome. Thanks for giving it a shot. I hope you enjoy it, whether you're driving or working out or cooking or cleaning or just laying around the house or whatever. I'm glad that you've decided to hang out with us today. And, it seems like in today's world, media and entertainment is just getting smaller and smaller. Everyone's vying for your attention, jamming every millisecond of your day with content. And while I do think that there's a time and place for small bite-sized content, this podcast is not necessarily the place for that. This is unapologetically a long, unedited, raw, and transparent place for conversations, to tell stories, to hang out, and to share ideas and perspectives. And will some of the episodes be really relaxed? Yes. Will some of them be very professional and jam full of nuggets of practical information? Yes. Will some of them be really silly and random and just about having a good time? Absolutely. But it's my main mission to have uninterrupted, fun, free-flowing conversations with the most interesting people I know, and that is why I started this podcast. And today, my guest is my friend, Gabriela Roman. Or Gabriela Roman. I don't know how to say it properly. I feel like I'm saying it properly. But I met Gabby earlier this year, right around the time she moved from Puerto Rico, where she had lived her entire life, and moved to Atlanta to chase her dreams of living in the United States. And obviously, Puerto Rico has been in the news a ton recently in the wake of the hurricanes and political drama. So, of course, I wanted to talk about that, but I think a lot of people are not familiar with Puerto Rico, so she was also able to shed some light on that situation. And also, earlier this year, her father passed away after she moved here. And so, of course, anytime you lose a parent, that's a really hard thing. And I really want to thank her for being so open and sharing her vulnerable stories. And I think you will all see very quickly that she's a very strong woman. She's had a lot of amazing stories to tell. And she's also moving again very soon. So I'm going to miss her very much. But that will all be revealed in the podcast. So without any further ado, please welcome my friend, Gabby Roman. There we go. We're live. So I'm here with my friend, Gabby.
Hi.
And this is your first podcast.
Yeah, so sorry if it's a little awkward.
Oh, it's okay. It was like most of my guests, I would say, is their first podcast. Because I started off just kind of talking to my friends.
Okay.
And the first 10 episodes, I recorded them all beforehand, and then I put out the first 10. Okay. So they didn't even know what to expect or anything like that. So
yeah.
It's not weird. And I think people have done recorded stuff before, but it's
That's
not
true.
Really
like this.
Exactly.
Legit, someone's gonna listen to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was another thing, is I didn't know if anyone was gonna care or actually listen to it or anything like that. But people have been liking it, so I'm gonna keep making them.
Of course, that's awesome.
Yeah. But so I like to the main premise of like me starting my podcast was because I think that we, especially in today's world, we tend to like look at people as how they are in the moment.
True.
You know, like, oh, this is this black guy, and you know, I think this because of what
His
I think
appearance.
about what I think of him or whatever. Or this is this old man, and he's just grumpy and old, and he's always been that way. Or you know, this is just this 25-year-old. He doesn't know anything. Blah blah blah. But you know, everyone has a story. Everyone has reasons why they are the way they are and stuff like that.
That's true.
And so, you know, I think it's important for us to like talk about that kind of stuff and like talk about why people are the way they are and what makes them that way. Anyways, all that to say, I think it would be cool for you to kind of like tell kind of your life and stuff like that because, you know, you have a cool story. But first, before we go like all the way back, just introduce yourself, tell people who you are. And
Okay, so hi guys, my name is Gabby, short for Gabriella, but Gabby is easier. So I just moved to Georgia 7 months ago. I'm originally from Puerto Rico. I was born and raised there from the west side. Basically, I decided to move because that was my life plan. I said I'm going to finish college, my bachelor's degree, and I'm going to find a job in Georgia because I have family here, and then I am going to move. And literally, my plans, thank God, turned out in circumstances that I didn't think, right? Because that's life, but it turned out. So yeah, that's me. So yeah, let me see. So I was born in 1993, June 24th. I'm 24 years old. So I'm a single child, right? I'm an only child. My parents had me like really, really young. They dropped out of college to raise me. And I think they did a pretty darn good job.
Yeah.
So yeah, growing up, I was in private school all my life and then went to high school and it was a public school.
Are the public schools in Puerto Rico like bad, or was it just like your parents wanted you to do private school?
No, basically it depends on the area, but public schools are pretty good. But here in America, public schools are bomb. So it's not like that. Private schools, it depends on the area. And it depends on what the parents want, right? But private schools over there tend to be better, culture based. So then I went to this really good high school. It was public, but it was like the best high school in my area. Sorry if someone from San Sebastian is listening, but it's true. So anyway, it was a really good high school. We use uniforms, like literally, like, the little skirts and stuff. Everyone uses uniform over there. It's not like
even in public school?
Even in public schools, yeah. The only thing that in public schools, we can use short skirts. In private school, it's nope. It has to be below the knee.
Yeah. The rule for my private school was always it had to be finger length. Like if you're standing up, it had to be like, if your hands were by your sides, it had to be longer than your fingers.
Yeah, no, it had to be like here. I remember.
That's funny.
So yeah, then I finished high school, and it was like, school for me was really interesting. A lot of people, go through bullying and stuff, and I was like let's say a victim, but literally I always say that bad experiences like shape you on what you are today. So that helped me a lot in being the person I am today.
Yeah.
And
what kind of, obviously like bullying is like a big issue right now. People are talking about it more and more, which I think is obviously good because the more we can bring awareness to it, the better that is. But like, as far as that, whatever if you don't want to talk about it, then we don't have to. But like, what kind of stuff were people like bullying you about?
For me, it was more gossip. Like, you trusted the wrong person, and they told like the whole school.
And
it was like kind of like it was like that. And like,
sucks.
yeah, sometimes people are like pressured to bully and stuff. Sometimes just to be cool, let's say, right? And they're not mindful of what it can do to another person. It can hurt them. It could, you will think, oh, they're just going to get over it. No, I'm 24, and that was like, 6-7 years ago, and I still remember it. And like for me, bad experiences, I'm also thankful for them because again, they shaped me to be the person I am today. So basically, it was like that. So I always say to my little cousins and stuff, be mindful what you say to other people, because you never know how bad you can hurt them.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
Yeah, and like the way that you perceive yourself like affects how you act to other people and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Like I was talking with my friend Max yesterday, and he was talking about how like he was overweight growing up, and like it's you like start to think that that's who you are. Like you can't ever change, and so like if you start thinking negative thoughts, a lot of times it's hard. Even though you could break out of it, like it's hard to just envision yourself as a person, as the person you want to be, I guess.
Exactly, that's true. So yeah, after high school, right, I went to college. I was in the north side of Puerto Rico, the University of Puerto Rico, Arecibo campus. The drama stopped there, people, so we're good. I met a lot of awesome people. I took 5 years to finish my 5 years and a half, actually. Yeah, I took a long time to finish my bachelor's.
I feel like that's pretty standard though, like nowadays.
I'm like, yeah, I don't want to take this class now. Let me just, I'll take it next semester. And it was like that for a couple of years until I finally finished. So then I always worked, throughout college. For me, it was really important. And then I finished my bachelor's degree and I moved to Atlanta. So basically, yeah, you could say a lot of people who met me here, I'm like, are you actually from Puerto Rico? Because yeah, maybe you guys can pick up a little bit on my accent because my first language is Spanish. But I'm bilingual because I have cousins that live here and I've always been exposed to the language. Plus, I was raised watching Disney Channel. We're not that different. Yeah. I watched Lizzie McGuire, Even Stevens, all the Hocus Pocus, all the Disney movies and Nickelodeon. I love the Rugrats, I remember. So basically...
My favorite was SpongeBob. I love SpongeBob.
Oh, I didn't like SpongeBob.
It's so stupid, but it's so funny.
But we're really Americanized, you can say, because sometimes, right, people have this image of Puerto Ricans like what they call New Yorkers, but no, we're really, really, really Americanized. Like, yes,
quite literally, because you're American citizens.
Exactly. So, but the thing is that, yeah, the culture is a little different. I would say Puerto Rico is more liberal, a lot more like the, how do you say this? I forgot the word. I can say it in Spanish and I don't say it in English.
What's the Spanish word?
Like the rules and stuff, are not that enforced like here. Like, the road and like all those policies and stuff. No, they're not.
Like staying within the lanes and all that kind of stuff.
No, yeah. That is like whatever. And the crime, a lot of people are, crime is really, big out there. No. It's basically, if I can compare it here to Atlanta, they're there, 50-50. But you don't see Amber Alerts. That doesn't happen over there. People taking children, that's really unlikely. Like, I can remember just one case when I was a little girl, and that was it.
Huh.
So, no, nothing.
A lot of times the Amber Alerts, though, I think it's like a parent that's not supposed to have custody will take the kid or something, rather than like just like a random snatcher.
Okay.
Which is interesting. It's weird because like a lot of times the person that takes them is like someone that the kid knows or whatever. But yeah, the Amber Alert system is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Was that something weird at first?
That's
You're like,
true.
why is my phone
why
like
is
doing
my
this
phone
thing?
blowing up? This doesn't happen back home. Like, and then I asked in my job, I was like, what is this? And they told me, no, that someone took a kid, maybe, but they explained that too, but that doesn't happen over there. Yeah. Like the crime most likely is drug problems, like cartel versus cartel and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's like that. But it's not like, those massive shootings, that doesn't happen over there. Like people respect a lot, schools and universities. That, thank God, that doesn't happen over there. So for me, that's a little like a shock here that I have to be like careful.
Yeah. How big, like, size-wise, like, compared to a state? Like, how big is Puerto Rico?
Super small. Like, literally super small. Like
how long does it take to drive from, like, the longest part?
2 hours and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I live in the West, like, 2 hours and a half. maybe 3 if there's like, but that's the longest you can take.
Gotcha.
Puerto Rico's really,
So it's really small. So you also obviously with like, you know, with like, when you think about rules and like bad stuff that happens, like in a tribe or something, when there's like not very much space, everyone kind of has to respect each other more.
Exactly.
Like, for example, in New York City, I've heard it said that like you have more respect for your neighbors and stuff like that because you're all crammed in there together.
That's true.
So everyone kind of has to be like forced to live together. And so it's like when you're all literally on this island, you can't really go anywhere else unless you move.
That's true.
You kind of have to have the common decency and everyone like come together kind of more.
And the weird thing is that you can meet someone and that someone knows someone you know. That always happens. Like the island's so small. You can live in the San Juan area and I'm from the west side and I can maybe know your cousin and you know, and it's like there's a lot of coincidences like that over there.
Yeah. I've heard Australia's like that too.
Really?
Like even though Australia is huge, everyone just like lives on the coast.
Okay.
And so like all Australians are like they know that everyone knows each other.
Literally.
They're all really well connected.
Oh, and like the racism thing, you don't feel over there because we're all Puerto Rican. And we're 3 races. We're like Native Americans that lived in the island, Spaniard, and Africans. So basically that's why we're really diverse. You can see someone with really dark skin. You can see someone really fair, like me. That they like, you don't look Puerto Rican. I'm like, do you want me to talking in Spanish?
Yeah, exactly.
Really Puerto Rican on you. No, and that's why we're really, really diverse. Curly hair, straight hair. And for me, it was a real shock when I moved here that like people will be like, sometimes you can feel like, you know, something different. Thank God I haven't felt it directly towards me, but I've seen it and it's just like, I'm not used to this because for me, a person is just a person. Yeah. That's it. I don't care your history. You're a person. If you're a good, you're good or you're bad. That's it. I don't care what you, so basically that's me.
I think it's also like when you live in the suburbs and everyone's kind of like spread out a little bit more, you don't really know how to like act towards other people because you see their culture is slightly different. So you don't know what's the same and what's different.
That's true.
And like the more you mesh and like everyone comes together, that's when you realize like, oh, we're not so different after all. Like I don't have to act any different around this person. Like even though they might act a different way, they might dress a different way or look a different way or whatever, they're, you know,
that's true.
They all want the same things. They all, true. You know, stuff like that.
I always say, like, I'm sorry, especially with other Latin cultures. I've met people from other cultures, like from Colombia or Mexico or Ecuador or Nicaragua. And I've asked them, okay, we talk Spanish, but there's some words in my Spanish, right, my Puerto Rican Spanish that are bad on their country. So I have to be really mindful, and I always give them the disclosure, hey, if I say like, oh, something wrong, this is not bad where I'm from. Like, it's really funny. In English, basically, it's kind of the same, but they're like literally, I have to be really, really careful with what I say with other people from other countries that speak Spanish. Yeah,
it is true though. Like certain things are like weirder in England than it would be over here, something like that with English words, or like Irish English is so weird. Like you can't even barely understand it sometimes because they have such a thick accent or whatever. But they're speaking English and their words are sometimes weirdly different. But you know, it is interesting how like even though the language is the same, different words or things like that do change.
And my American, you know, that were raised here, like in the United States, let's say like that. My coworkers, they're like, for me, all of you like sound the same. And I'm like, of course, because you don't understand it. But if you like understand a little bit, you're gonna pick up on the accent. Some of Puerto Ricans, they say that we kind of talk like singing. I'm Puerto Rican. I don't recognize that. I won't be. For me, my Spanish is normal. But then again, Mexicans have a certain accent. And like Argentinians have a certain accent, and Spaniards too. I can like imitate. Example, I'm gonna talk Spanish like I talk Spanish. Mi nombre es Gabriela, soy de Puerto Rico. Así yo hablo, right? That's me talking in Spanish. Then Spaniards are like, oh, porque ellos hablan así, y usan la Z. And I don't know if you guys, know like, hear the difference.
The S's are different.
Exactly. And then Argentinians are like, pero ¿por qué? ¿Por qué usted está haciendo eso? Argentinians talk like, kind of like Italians, but in Spanish. And then Mexicans are like, híjole, güey, no manches. That's how the best my impressions, right? Sorry if someone out
Those
there
are pretty
is
good
like,
impressions.
no, sorry if someone like literally from there, I'm imitating you. I'm so sorry, but I do want to.
No, it's okay.
But literally, you can pick up on the accent. They're different.
But it's kind of like someone from like down south. They're talking all
Exactly,
like
that's
that.
true, that's
and then
true,
you have like
that's
someone
true.
from New York talks totally different than someone from Boston. Talks different from someone in Chicago. Talks different from someone in California.
That's exactly
so
true.
like it's weird how. And the other thing is like I was born and raised in Atlanta, but I don't have like a southern
you don't
accent
at all. That's
at all.
the first thing I told you when I met you. You don't talk Southern at all, Andrew.
Yeah, and another thing that I don't know. I don't really like putting myself in like a box. And I think a lot of times people kind of adopt that Southern accent. Well, number one, because normally their parents kind of have it, so they just like learn to talk that way. But I know kids that like purposefully, I think growing up kind of talk more Southern so that they would be a little bit more accepted by like, for example, the like hunting and fishing communities and stuff like that. Like if you talk more like that, those people kind of are like, oh, you're like one of us, sort of.
That's true.
And if you don't talk like that, it's not that they wouldn't accept you, but they automatically feel like, oh, like if you went to Texas, they're like, oh, you're not from around these parts, are you? Like they instantly know that you're not like part of their little club because you talk weird.
That's true.
And it's like, why do we do that? I don't know. It's all kind of goes back to like that tribalism. Everyone wants to know who's against them, who's with them.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. It's weird.
For me, it's funny because I work right now in a call center. I work with payment processing and all of that. And I have a lot of people, call from all United States, like from Cali, Washington, D.C., and all of that. And once I was speaking to this person, I don't remember where he was from, but he was like, are you from Washington, D.C.? Like, your accent sounds like that. And I'm like, what? No, sir. I'm Puerto Rican. My uncle used to live in D.C., but that's about it. And it's like, oh my God, like, your accent is so, I'm like, I don't know. I just talk English.
Yeah.
I just try to talk the best I can, but you sound from DC. I'm like, okay, that's the first.
That's really funny.
That's the first. No,
people always want to try to pinpoint that kind of stuff too. It's like I just talk the way I talk. People say that to me all the time. And another thing that's interesting about that I've found myself doing is for whatever reason I start imitating people's accents when I'm with them a little bit.
That happens, yes, in Spanish too.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking to a Spaniard, my cousin's boyfriend, he's from Spain. And every time I'm talking to him, then I hear myself and I'm like literally talking like, what is wrong with me? Why am I talking like this? I feel retarded.
Yeah. And like sometimes even like you'll see it where people are doing it on purpose to like try to get in with those people. Like you'll see like a white guy all of a sudden like be like, "What's up, brother?" Like when he like he like meets like a black guy or something like, "Yo, man, what's good, man?" Like it's like, dude, just well, why did you just convert like that real quick?
Exactly.
Like what's going on?
That's
but like for example, when I was living in Italy or like I would start kind of talking with that cadence that they would talk with and. Sometimes I think it's good to do that, especially if you're talking to someone that doesn't necessarily, you're not quite sure if they speak English or not.
That's right.
Because if you almost kind of if you speak English kind of like how an Italian would speak English, they can kind of, they get it more than if you start, oh, hey, where's the blah, 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 like start really, really fast with like in a really American accent. They're like, whoa, wait, what did you say? But if you're like, excuse me, and like kind of slow down and almost say it how they would say it, they understand it more. But someone called me out about that because it was when I was in Spain. I was with this family and they were like, where are you from? And I was like, I'm from America. And they're like, you don't sound like you're from America at all. And I was just like, oh no, like I feel stupid now. I'm like, you want me to talk American? I can talk real American for you. But yeah, it was funny because they were just, and also a lot of people were like, you don't sound like you're from the South. I'm like, well, not everyone talks like that.
Yeah, that's true. Even in Puerto Rico, we have, it depends on the area, the accent changes even though we're Puerto Rican. That's the funny thing. I'm not gonna get into that. In Atlanta, there's a lot of Puerto Ricans and literally there's from all Okay, let's just ignore that topic because
Okay.
I have a lot of Puerto Ricans maybe are listening to this, and I don't want them to. This little West Side girl, no, she didn't.
It's funny because like I'm so far removed from that I wouldn't even like get understand like that drama at all.
Yeah, it's not drama. It's that we make fun of different people from the different part of the islands, like the preppy side and the north side. I'm not gonna mention that town, but they know. They know how they talk. And
That's
then
funny.
they say the ones that we live like I don't know why people from San Juan, they say like all of us that live in the rest of the island say, yeah, you're from La Isla, you're from the island. I'm like, where are you from? Like, where are you from? We get so mad. Sorry, but it's true. It's like, where are you from? And you're like a little, no, you're in the island too.
That's hilarious.
That's okay for people from in the United States to say that. You're from the island. Yes, we're in an island. You're not.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
Stop it. Anyway, yeah. So let's see.
But when I was gonna ask you too, like when you were growing up, you're saying you were watching Disney Channel and Nickelodeon and all that stuff. Do you like? Obviously, there is tons of Spanish like entertainment and stuff. Why do you think people like gravitate towards the American entertainment over their native language or whatever? Because like I said, when I was in like Italy or whatever, they would be watching like American cartoons and stuff a lot of times. Even sometimes there would be subtitles or whatever, but it was weird.
Because they're better. I'm gonna be honest. They're better. Guys, literally, my first language is Spanish, and I hate watching movies translated to Spanish. I hate it. I've watched, like, every time I see a movie and it's in English, no. Like, I want to see it in English. I don't want to see it in Spanish since I was a little girl. And I actually learned English because of Barney. Not kidding. One day my dad, he said that I was in the closet stuck, and I was like literally out of nowhere, Dad, I'm stuck. And he's like, what is this little girl talking English? I don't even talk English. So literally that's how I learned.
Hilarious.
That was because of a cartoon. Like literally I learned English.
I wish that it was like that over here because like I would have loved to watch like some stuff and learn a different language because it makes sense. Like it really does make sense. Lots of people say that they learned English because of watching movies and TV shows.
You have to be exposed to the language. That's the thing. If you want to learn a certain language, you have to be exposed to it. In my case, I was exposed to it. I had English classes, and sometimes I had 2 English classes in one semester. So, sorry. I was, always reading, always practicing. We had a lot of oral talks and stuff like that. So we were exposed to it. And here in America, a lot of people that were raised in the United States, they have told me that their Spanish was like they were trying to show them like grammar, like this is the subject, and I'm like, no. For me, it's really important that you teach a child how to speak the language first. Give me an oral talk in Spanish and tell me about a subject. Then when they are exposed to it, then show them the grammar. That's what I think. It's the easiest way.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why
fix the mistakes before like trying to teach like all the correct things right off the bat. It's like when you're, when you're teaching someone to drive a car, you're not like, okay, this is the engine.
Exactly.
And when you push this pedal, it actually cranks these gears that makes the engine. Like, you don't need to be doing that. You need to just be like, okay, this is skinny pedal on the right. This is the stop. Like, hold the thing. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's a really good explanation. So that's why a lot of people don't catch up on Spanish and didn't learn, and they were like exposed to it, but in the wrong way.
Yeah.
And it's really cool, it doesn't have to be Spanish, but just learn a second language. It's really cool, and it opens a lot of doors for you to get another, like maybe a better paying job.
Yeah.
It's really, very true. And also it's knowledge, and knowledge is the only thing no one can take away from you. So, like, basically just, learning to communicate with other people, it's so interesting. And I will definitely, if you have the opportunity, even sign language, you have the opportunity to learn a second language, just do it. It's going to feel so rewarding. And it's so cool when literally you can translate for someone or you understand them. It's really cool. It's a really good feeling.
Yeah, for sure. And like it makes you kind of feel powerless when you don't have that. Like if you're trying to communicate with like another human and you can't speak to them, it's really humbling. Exactly. Because like you you know, you take that for granted on such a high level, especially living in the States, because it's so big and all the movies are in English and all the entertainment. Like, we don't even think about other languages 99% of the time.
And sometimes, this is a personal opinion. Sometimes I understand kind of like why Americans get frustrated with people from other countries, especially when they have a really hard time speaking English. It's because you don't understand them. If you think about everything in life, when you don't understand someone and you're trying to, it's frustrating. It frustrates you. So it's exactly the same thing. Because I work in a call center and I had to train myself literally like how to listen to that person. What do they want? And that's a skill that I did not have, and like have the patience and help them out. And now I understand why sometimes like people like get mad with someone from another culture, because it's hard to understand them. And it's not anyone's fault. It's just, you know, I would say just be a little more mindful and like patient. And yes, there's a lot of people that the other person who's trying to talk to you gets frustrated too, because they're like, you don't understand me. It's like a couple's argument.
Yeah.
But literally, I understand that now a lot more than I did before. So that's why every time, because even I'm not from, like, I was not raised in the United States. I was like, you know, in Puerto Rico. And for me, I get frustrated when I don't understand someone. And I'm like, no, chill. Because if you have like a good personality and they, you know, see your body language and you're being cool, they're going to be like that too. And they're just going to be patient. I always say that. It's the approach you have.
Exactly. And everyone just wants to be understood.
Exactly.
Like that's the bottom line. Like, everyone wants to be understood, but a lot of times, you know, people don't have a very good way of expressing it or whatever. Like, for example, on the call center thing, someone might call you and be really mad about something not working. And like, they might not even be that like, you know, they might have not lost money. They might have just like wasted some of their time or whatever. But like, a lot of times they just want someone else to sympathize with them and be like, hey, I'm really sorry that happened. Like, what can we do moving forward to make this right? A lot of times they don't even really want much of anything. They're kind of just like, I just want you to acknowledge the problem and like tell me it's going to be better. You know, like a lot of times, like I used to work at the front desk at a gym and people would complain about stuff. And even though like I might not even be able to really do much to fix it, even just me sympathizing and be like, hey, I get it. Like, that's annoying to me too. Like, I'm sorry. I'm going to see if I can like talk to somebody and see if we can change that. And they'd be like, thank you so much.
Exactly.
Even just like that helps so much, because people just want to vent the frustration and like be understood. Like, this is how I feel. Help me like get that out, and hopefully we can do something about it.
That's true. Sometimes when I have like angry clients, I literally just shut up and let them vent and let them talk. And when they're finished, then I help them out. And
exactly.
It works. It's true.
Yeah.
So let's see what else I can tell you guys. So,
but yeah, so you moved to Atlanta after you graduated, right?
Exactly.
I was going to say your hair might be blocking the microphone.
Oh, okay.
It's fine. It's all good. Sometimes it like makes a scratchy noise.
Oh, okay.
So. But anyways.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, so you moved, you said you took 5.5 years to graduate.
Yes.
And
don't laugh. Stop it.
I dropped out of college, so I can't say
Stop
shit.
it. At least I finished. I'm just kidding. You're going to finish.
Exactly.
You're going to finish because
I'm going to
grill
so.
you. I'm going to grill you on
make
that.
It happen. No, but so anyways, so after college, you were like, it's always my dream to move to America, and you moved to Atlanta.
I moved to Atlanta. So this is the funny story. I was going to move to Seattle first. I had my plane tickets and everything, but something went on that I could not move. When my dad was still alive, he always told me, don't move to Seattle, Gabby. You know, you're going to do a big move and it's so far, and it's better for you to be closer to home and just get adapted. And I was like, no. But life works out that way. Something went on in my family that I could not move to Seattle. And then I ended up moving to Atlanta. I was really funny. I got my interview set up in Puerto Rico. And then when I moved on February 28th. And in March 1st, I had my interview. And that same day, they told me I had the job. And I was like, no freaking way. That is not possible. Anyway, I started like 2 weeks after that. I started in customer service in the call center, right? I told you guys it's payment processing, and then I got promoted to tech support. So I learned how credit card terminals work and how to build the files that are inside of them and all of that. And it was like different because I majored in business administration, but come on, it's like totally different. From, businesswoman to programmer, literally real quick. So basically I learned those skills, and this is the funny story. One day, let me go back. When I was in customer service about to promote to tech support, I had to go back to Puerto Rico and fly because my dad was really ill. I'm literally going to say what he died about. He died because of AIDS. Yes, that's out there. Please, people, be really mindful. He got in a really bad depression because my grandparents passed away, and he let it take over. Like, it was really bad, and I will never, like, seeing that illness like in full effect is so heartbreaking. And
yeah, because he was on medication to
exactly,
because I mean, it's pretty rare nowadays for someone to die of it.
Exactly. No, that doesn't happen. The thing is that people who take the medication live long, happy lives, but because he was such in a bad depression, he let it take over, like, fully. And I didn't know. He was in and out of the hospital, but he told, when I was back in Puerto Rico, he was in and out of the hospital. And I was like, Dad, tell me what's wrong. And he never wanted to tell me. He even told the doctors, I don't want you to tell her anything. And he was divorced from my mom. So obviously it was just me and him. And my mom helped out also. But again, she had another relationship, and I completely understand. So when I moved to Georgia, I find out that my dad has AIDS because my aunt and my uncle had to go back to Puerto Rico, to take care of him because he was not picking up the phone, and we're all worried. And they flew, as an emergency. And then when they get back, they told me the news, and I was like, I was so mad. You can understand, like, why did you wait for me to find? And he didn't want them to tell me, but again, come on. So long story short, I flew to Puerto Rico. The hospital, said, like, he's better. He wasn't better. We took him back to the house. He could not walk. He was really skinny. My dad was 6'2", handsome man. Like, he was, and seeing him so skinny with ulcers, it was horrible. It was just horrible. Then, the only way I could help him out financially, it was from over here in the States, having my job. And working. So my mom made a commitment with me. She stayed taking care of him and my family over there. I came back. I worked, and I paid for his insurance and all that. But obviously he was so bad that he passed away. Basically, it's really strange. People say, how are you so calm? This happened in May, so it's recent. But the thing is that bad things are always going to happen in your life. You just have to move forward and just embrace the change, even though it's bad, because everyone's going to lose their parents. A lot of people have lost their children. It's like that. Life sucks that way. But there's a plan inside those bad things. And for me, I chose to believe that. And every time I move, I feel my dad's with me. It's like that. It's really weird. But literally, just coping with this has made me a stronger person. And if you choose to, instead of just, you need your time to grieve and to be sad, but if you let bad things in your life, experiences, things you've done, losses, everything define you, you're going to be stuck. You just have to be, okay, I'm going to learn from this. Because I went through this, I can handle a lot more things, right? Worse things. And I just have to move on from it. So basically that was a huge change in my life that just made me want to do more and be more and help out more and be mindful of the people that are around me and just appreciate them more, because you never know. One day you're here, another day you don't know. So basically that happened in my life. I came back to Atlanta. My dad passed away, went back, to pick up his ashes and all of that. He's with me in my apartment. And he has his own table and everything. Anyway, the thing is, Didn't
you say he wanted you to sprinkle his ashes somewhere?
Oh God, you want me to tell that?
I don't remember what the story was.
It was inappropriate. My dad was really funny that way. Do you want me to tell that story?
If you want to tell it, you can tell it.
Oh my God, Andrew brought it up. Let's just, I was going to ignore that, but Andrew brought it up. So one day I was eating with Andrew in Gypsy Kitchen. And I told him the story. my dad, he said when he was alive, he always said that he knew he was going to pass away young. Weird, since I was a little girl, but yes. Well, it's true. He was 42.
When he told you that, did he know that he had
Nothing.
the disease?
No, he said that since I was like literally 4 years old.
Wow.
Nothing. He was like that. He was like a vibey person. He knew
He's like, I'm going to die young.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to die young. And I'm like, really? Okay. So the thing is that he always say, look, Gabby, when I die, I want you to burn my ashes. And there's a tree that has some fruits. The fruits are called quenepas. It's spelled Quenepas. Google it so you can understand the joke. So basically, they imagine like little, how do you say that? I don't know there's no fruit that I can think that looks like that in English.
Can't hear. Let's look it up real fast.
Like
how do you
literally.
spell it?
Q.
1 second. Let me log in.
Anyway, long story short, let's say imagine like a
Wait, is Quenepas? They're kind of like little limes.
Yeah, okay. They're called Spanish limes.
I've seen this before. Yeah, this guy that I used to work at the gym, he brought me some one time.
They sell them in Florida too, Miami.
Yeah,
and all of that.
okay, so they're like limes, but they're orange on the inside.
Exactly, and they're like, it has like it's chewy. It's really good. Anyway, imagine it's like a lime. It has like a big seed, and all around the seed, it has like it's like the gummy thing, like the fruit
part.
Exactly, and then you just like chew on that, and then just throw out the seed. Anyway. So my dad said, when I die, I want you to bury my ashes under a tree of quenepas. And I'm like, why? So people can suck on my quenepas. And I'm like, you guys know I'm doing that, right? I'm literally gonna I'm gonna like plant a little tree of quenepas and he's going there. And I'm like, you said it. There you are. Literally. Well, Andrew wanted me to tell you that story.
I like it.
An appropriate story.
Hey, it's funny. No, because I remember you said that it was something funny like that, but I couldn't remember the exact story. That's
God,
funny.
no. Well, there you go. Anyway, so basically I came back to Atlanta after my dad's death. And
you're an only child, you said, right?
Yes. So, please, guys, if you want to have kids, have 3, because when you're old, it's not nice to have just one kid help out.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's true.
It's just me and my brother. I feel like one sibling is good. Obviously, 3 siblings is interesting. As a parent, obviously, it's a lot of work, but the 3 sibling dynamic has always been interesting to me because I never had that.
No, I don't know. I don't know what having a brother or sister had it. Like, just me.
Yeah, exactly. But when you were growing up, were you ever mad that you were an only child or anything?
No. Basically, people say that only childs are really like, oh, this is mine, I'm not going to share this. But I was never like that. I was always like, I didn't care. Thank God.
Yeah. Were you like close with like cousins or anything like that?
Yes, really
though?
close. My cousins and my friends, they're like really close.
That's
really
good.
Close. Yeah.
I feel like because if you have family that, lives close and you have like cousins and stuff, that can kind of be like your siblings in a way.
That's true. So basically I moved back. Well, I already lived here. I came back, worked and focused on my life. Just thinking about the next step. So let's just forward to now. One day I'm in Facebook, just watching my memes and just laughing and liking stuff. And one day I see this video about a company, right? A payment processing company that's really, really awesome. First, I just saw the video, and it was this video about this boss that lowered his salary from $1 million to $70,000 because he was going to raise the minimum to all of his employees to $70,000. And I was like, that's surreal. So that's so cool. Let me research the company. When I research a company is exactly what I do now. I could not believe it. So basically after that, let me see if they have some open positions. They had one like exactly the same, like literally deployment representative, what I do right now. It's tech support. And the cool thing is that I get to go to the merchant's site and help them out and all of that. So I was like, let me just apply. I fixed my resume. I did a cover letter, and I was not expecting they were going to call me, because first things first, like 30,000 people applied to that job. That company, like the CEO,
Once they made that video.
Exactly. The CEO was Entrepreneur of the Year 2010. He met Obama. He met Jay-Z. He was in Esquire magazine, Inc. magazine, you name it. So they have like a lot of people applying to that job. So come on, little island girl, me, old Gabby. You think I know I'm a good employee and I'm a hard worker, but you never think that that's you're gonna get that opportunity. Anyway, I applied. Thing is that a week after, I'm searching my emails because I really wanted to be a flight attendant. That was like my dream. And I was just waiting on Delta, please tell me that you're gonna send me to, you're gonna hire me. But no, that did not happen. But I got an email from the recruiter, from the HR person. And
what's the company called again?
Gravity Payments. I didn't mention the name, but now I mentioned it, Gravity Payments. So shout out to my new job.
I was going to say, because either way, people could probably find it just by searching the video.
Yeah, shout out to my new job. See you in 18 days, guys. So anyway, Caitlin, that was her name, the HR representative, she sent me an email with to answer a couple of questions. I'm like, okay. So I answered those questions, and like a day after that, she invited me to do the phone screening. And I was like, oh my God. Let's see, right? I hope I don't get like, when she starts asking questions, I forget all my English and start rambling in Spanish. But no, thank God that did not happen. And then I passed the phone screening, and she invited me to my first Skype interview that I was going to meet with the managers of my position. I remember like I got my interview and like the Skype was not working, and they're just like, I don't see you. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to like fail. I was so nervous. Thing is, I did my Skype interview. They literally burned my brain. They asked so much questions. I don't know how I answered them. Garrett Austin, if you're listening to this, yes, my brain fried thanks to you guys. So yeah, it was really like intense. But it was a cool interview because like I felt I could engage with them and all of that, and they were so awesome. And after that, I asked them, so what's the next step? And they told me that I was gonna, hear from the HR representative and later that week. But I heard from her like 30 minutes after that, and she was like, hey, I want to invite you to a second interview. I'm like, oh my God. Second one, another one, why? Yeah. But why? And then I did the second interview through Skype too. I felt a little more, comfortable, but again, a lot of questions. And it was more like testing my tech skills. But because they don't hire people with experience that much, they hire people who just are willing to learn and are fast learners and all of that. And I've researched, and for them, integrity is really important. So they're just looking, for a good quality of person, like a certain type of people. Exactly. And then you don't know if you're that certain type of people. Come on, because you think of yourself, yeah, I'm good. I'm a decent human being, but then you don't know if you're what they need. So after that interview, they told me that I was gonna hear from Caitlin like that later on that week, because that was a Monday. And then like that same day, Caitlin reached out to me. She was like, hey, I need some references. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I gave her my references. I told her, hey, remember, I'm from Puerto Rico. Maybe there's not much signal. And then we'll talk about the hurricane thing later.
Yeah. I don't know if I can get my references.
Yeah, but anyway, they worked. So thank God she got the references. And it took about a day. It was the longest day of my life. And one day she sent me an email. Hey, Gabby, I would love to, get a chance to talk to you today. When are you available? My heart started racing. And I'm like, well, I get off of work at 6:30. So, in Eastern Standard Time. And then I went to Yard House because it was my little cousin's birthday, his 18th birthday. Happy birthday, Gabriel. And my aunt and everything, they were waiting for me in the parking lot. And then like, oh my gosh, she's going to call me like in 30 minutes. And she's like, get in the car. So because there was like a lot of noise, so I got in the car, and then when she called me, I started like freaking out. You can imagine me moving my hands like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then when I'm talking to her, she's like, hi, Gabby, how are you? And whatever. So we just want to offer you this job. And I was like, oh my God, this cannot be. This is not happening. I am dreaming. And like, I'm 24 years old and having like a salary that I can maybe get a house before I'm 30. And, it's like, this is so real. This is not happening. But then again, moving to Seattle in 19 days, and I'm really excited, and I'm going to live right next to the Space Needle, and I can't believe it. But
and that was where you originally wanted to move, right?
Yes, that's the thing. So now let's look back. For me, since I was, like I told you guys, I wanted to live there. I went to Seattle once when I was in my second year in college, and it was amazing, and I fell in love with the city. And I never thought, this is actually now my reality. So I always say, if you you imagine yourself in a certain place and you just work towards that, and you stop being negative towards yourself, that I'm going to make it. I don't know when, but I know I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to work slowly up to this and just not settle. If you say to yourself, I'm not settling and I'm eventually going to get there, you're going to make it. It doesn't matter what obstacles. Again, like I said before when this podcast started, life happens in circumstances sometimes that you don't think. I lost my dad. It took I was here 7 months. Things I went through in my childhood, like in different circumstances that you will never think, right? But it happens in its own pace. And that's why I always say that bad experiences shape you to the person you are. And And when you look back, you're like, every little thing had to happen in order for me to be here. So it's just not giving up. And it's just, just being, I'm not going to settle. I'm going to make it. And I'm going to do this, this, and this. And it happens, literally. That's the important thing. And another thing, the hurricanes in Puerto Rico, I remember when I was moving to my apartment here in Georgia, because I recently moved to an apartment, and I have to break my lease. Anyway, I remember I was moving, right, the first time I was living alone, and the hurricane was happening, and I couldn't call my mom. I was sobbing, opening the cabinets, like, where does everything go? And I can't call my mom. It was horrible. I didn't hear from my mom in a week.
Wow.
When my mom called me after a week, I started sobbing, crying. I couldn't believe it. Like, Mom, because again, it's my only parent. It's like the only thing I have. And just knowing that maybe she was not, that she was not okay, and that, does she have enough food? Does my dogs have food? Does my dogs have food? Is her car working? Is the apartment okay? But thank God everything was fine. She was one of the fortunate ones that nothing happened to her place. But it wasn't like that for the whole island.
Not at all.
At all. So, and people who live here in the States that are Puerto Rican, we felt so guilty because we're like, they're going through this and we're here.
And there's not really anything you can, going there isn't really going to help anything.
Exactly. It's going to make it worse.
What are you going to go do? Fix the power? Bring the power over with you?
The thing is, and because everything was so limited, like food and all of that, if we go there, there's going to be less for the people who actually live there. So the best thing we did was just send donations and give money so they can help out. But it was horrible. And the island looks like, my mom sent me pictures. The island looks like it was burned to the ground.
Wow.
Supposedly because of the water, the salt, literally. There's a really nice beach. If someone who's listening went to Crash Boat ever, it's a really famous beach in Puerto Rico. That literally does not exist. It's not what it was before. The parking lot is all full of sand. Everything blew out. The hangouts I used to go to in the coast, they were all wooden. There were destroyed, demolished. They don't exist. It was horrible. So, and just knowing that your town where you grew up in, your island is not what it was before. Right now, it's a lot better. Things are getting better, but you know, my mom was without power like over a month. Right now, thank God she has water and power in her side of the island, but there's a lot of places there's no signal.
You said she's
There's
on the west
nothing.
side, right?
She's on the west
So
side.
the east side probably got hit way harder because it came through the east.
Exactly. And it was horrible, you know. And again, people who are here, who are Puerto Rican, we felt like, what can we do? It's the worst thing ever, knowing that maybe they're not okay and we're here, not, you know.
And there's not really anything that you can do.
Exactly. But again, like, my life, this all happened, and right in circumstances like my home, whatever, but like with this job, I can help out my mom. I can help more people in the island. Like, and it's like that, you know, it's blessings in disguise. And sometimes you're in a position like, why is this happening to me? Why?
Yeah, exactly.
Why? I don't deserve this. Don't ever say that. Ever. There is a reason for it. And you just have to look at it in the other way. Okay. So this happened. Right? You can cry. You can scream whatever you want. That's good. But let me move forward. Right? And that's how basically all the hurricane thing also, people who have lost their houses, got flooded, lost their things, because I know people who went through that. They're just looking, they're being so positive, and they're like, let's just move forward, right? Let's just move forward, and this is the plan. Because when things like that happen, you just have to design a new plan. And this is what I'm going to do. And you're going to make it. It's just because if you start being negative, then all the things are going to like not turn out.
Yeah.
It's what you attract, right? So just be positive, and it doesn't matter how bad things get. There's always, always, always a positive outcome of things.
So like right now in Puerto Rico, is the island still without power? A lot of it?
A lot of it, it doesn't have power. There's a lot of areas without signal.
What are they doing? I mean, obviously, because our infrastructure is so dependent on power. I mean, because obviously, you know, we've survived as humans without electricity for, you know, thousands, millions of years, whatever. However long you believe the Earth has existed and humans have existed. But, you know, our infrastructure now, we're so dependent on it. Like, what are they doing?
Basically, right now, there's a lot of people who are just surviving. This is not the first time we've been without power. Well, it's the longest. But once when I was living in the island, it was called Central Aguirre. One of the power sources like literally burned.
Oh, wow.
And all the island, nothing power, like for a couple of days, like for 2 days. I don't remember. But it was horrible.
Yeah, of course.
But
everything's dependent on that.
Exactly. A lot of people most people have, well, not most, a lot of them have how do you call that?
Solar panels?
No, not solar panels. Those were flipped.
So the solar panels didn't work to get power? Generators?
Yes, they're that generator. I'm like literally tantrum with my hands. How do you call this? Generators. So they have generators. And a lot of people who live in the States are sending generators to the island.
That's good.
A lot of them just are washing clothes by hand. Whatever water they can find. Their things, their food that were in the fridge, well, that's messed up. They threw it away. So a lot of restaurants are giving out, you know, food, so they go and eat with because of those donations. And a lot of people have families who have generators, so they put their stuff over there. That's what my mom was doing. To wash clothes, again, water they find. I saw this video on Facebook about this lady. She got like a bucket, like a, you know, those buckets that have paint, right? So in one of those,
like a 5-gallon bucket or whatever.
Exactly. So then she got the lid and she put like a spiral thing, right? You know how the washing machines have like a spiral thing? So she literally did one and like glued it to the top, and then she put like a stick, right? And a little thing on the top, like a square thing to move it. So literally on the bucket, she puts her clothes, like closes the lid, and then she moves it like up and like literally like a washing machine.
Like
and she literally, it was really, really good idea. Yeah. So she's doing that to wash her clothes, and it's a brilliant idea. Yeah. It's like, dude.
I actually saw a while ago this foot-powered washing machine.
Really?
It's like this little tiny washing machine, and you put your clothes in this little bag and like throw it in this. It's almost like a sphere, and when you like pump it with your foot, it like spins the ball all around and all this.
That's
and
cool.
then you just like hang dry your clothes or whatever. But I thought that was like a really cool concept because then you don't have to use power, and you can like you literally just kind of pump your foot, and that's what like moves it around.
Exercise.
Yeah, get a little exercise, whatever. And yeah, it was like a minimalistic kind of thing, like reducing your whatever, blah blah blah. But yeah, people have to get real creative, and that's the cool thing about humans, man. Like we are so resilient. Like
literally,
we, I mean, we survive through crazy stuff. Like you would, obviously you would think, oh my gosh, how are all these people surviving without power? But I mean, obviously there's been casualties and people are sick and all this stuff. But I mean, people are still out there surviving.
That's true.
And of course, they're gonna rebuild. And like you said, all bad things happen for a reason. There's always, you can't look at it that way. You can always say like, cool, now we can start fresh. We can build it even better.
Exactly.
Like, because that's a big problem with like current things. For example, we've got self-driving cars are coming out and stuff. Our infrastructure right now is not designed for that. If there was some kind of like crazy storm that like destroyed everything, we'd be like, okay, cool. Like now we can fresh start. Let's actually design these roads for like future technologies, or let's instead of building back up all these gas stations, how about we build electricity stations where we can charge our electric cars really fast or whatever, So infrastructure is such a huge thing, but if you look at it as a positive thing, you can always come back even stronger.
Exactly.
I was gonna say too, with all the Puerto Ricans back here that are kind of like you said, almost like guilty and all this kind of stuff. What can people do right now to help? Like you're saying, people are sending generators and all that stuff. Do you know if there's like a great way of people can donate or like whatever?
Right now, there's a lot of Ricky Martin has I don't have the site right now, but if you go to his Instagram page, he has his site. So if you want to give out money, he has his donation page.
I'll make sure to link it in this podcast.
That's awesome. I'm thinking from the top of my head. Urban Outfitters has a shirt that says Puerto Rico, and all donations are going there. If you buy the J Balvin song Mi Gente with the Beyonce remix, her remains are going to Puerto Rico. If you want to donate, actual supplies, you can always, buy your supplies, box them, and you can take them to a restaurant. It's in Marietta. It's called Buen Provecho. You can look for it in Waze or whatever GPS, and you're going to see it. And you can just provide your donations there, and they have like there's people that are taking those supplies to Puerto Rico. And there's a million other ways that you guys can help out, really. But those are the ones that I can think right, from the top of my head. And yeah, right now for you it's easier to donate money. Ricky Martin, you just look on his Instagram page. It's a lot easier. And if you want supplies, again, just go to that restaurant. It's a Puerto Rican restaurant. And it's really good too.
Yeah, and support them. I'm sure. Go eat there.
Exactly. You can take your donations there, and that will be really, really awesome.
That's really cool. Another thing I was thinking of too, when you said that restaurants in Puerto Rico are like giving out food and all that kind of stuff. Like a lot of people that are stingy and like aren't thinking of the future, they would think like, oh, I don't know if I could do that if I was a restaurant, like I'd be losing so much money, blah, blah, blah. But, if you think about it, the people that are running that restaurant, like, and you were feeding them, once everything gets like, back to normal and everyone, like, you're going to go back to that restaurant like a lot. You're going to be like indebted to those people forever. Like you're gonna want to support that business, all that kind of stuff.
That's the thing.
And like good things always come full circle. Like
exactly.
if you do good things for people, like people will always recognize that, even if it's not immediately. Like I'm a firm believer in that. Like you put out good energy into the world, good things are going to return to you. And not some kind of like hocus pocus kind of way. It's just like a fact. You can see why that works. Like that whoever's owning that restaurant is providing food for these people. Those people, when they get back on their feet, they're going to try to support that business.
Exactly. And basically, if you're a good human, just being a good person and just try to help out the best way you can. It doesn't mean you have to be, Superman or Wonder Woman and no. Just if you have the initiative to help out and just, be nice to a person and have empathy. That's going to reward you. That's going to be, life is going to reward you because of that. Because again, we're so blinded and we're so just thinking about ourselves and me, that sometimes we forget the people next to you. And, And sometimes to help out just like the minimum, and it feels so good to help out. I don't know. It's like a really good feeling when someone is like, thank you so much for your help. That's why I work in customer service and tech support.
That is the one rewarding thing about working in customer service, because you get a lot of grief and people get really mad at you.
Exactly.
But like when you actually can help someone with their problem, that feels really good.
Exactly. For me, that's just it's a rewarding feeling. If you feel a little empty and a little sad and all of that, help out someone. Really, you're gonna feel good at the end of the day, and it's something no one can take away from you. Really, really.
That's very true. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like. I was at the gas station the other day, and I'm not mentioning this because I want to like say how good of a person I am.
Of course.
But there was this guy at the gas station, and he was like, "Hey man, I'm trying to get to Stockbridge. I don't have any money to fill up my car. Can you give me a couple bucks or whatever?" And you know, my initial reaction is to, you know, oh sorry man, I don't have any cash. You know, like, oh sorry, I wish I could help. Because I'm thinking to myself like, I've got money in my bank account, but like I don't just have extra money to be tossing this guy, blah blah blah. But, you know, then my second reaction is like, you know, if I was in his position, he's probably uncomfortable. He doesn't really want to ask me for this. And, you know, so I was like, you know, I looked at my wallet and I only had 20s, and I was like, you know, I don't really want to, I was like, I don't know if I want to give this guy a 20. I was like, you know, I'll just put it on my card and I'll like watch the meter or whatever. And so I'm like, you know, he's like, oh, thank you, man. He's like, and it was a black guy, and he said, he was like, man, black people don't want to help me out, man. They're thinking I'm just trying to beg or whatever. He's like, they don't want to even help their own people. And I was like, well, I don't even think it's anything about that necessarily, you know, because I told him, I was like, you know, because my initial reaction is like, sorry, man, I don't have anything. I even said that to him. But then, you know, I was like, but I believe that, like, if I was ever in a position like that, that you're in right now, I would want someone to help me. And he's like, man, I wish more people would think like that. And I was like, yeah, well, on the other hand, you know, you can't get stuck in that mentality that everyone's just going to help you all the time, because that's not always true. But like, you know, I'm happy to like help you out with a little bit. And like we were actually talking, and I didn't even see. I forgot that I like put my card in, and I was just like pumping gas, and I like forgot that I was talking to this guy. I literally ended up pumping $20 worth of gas in the thing before I even like realized I was supposed to be like watching the thing. And then I was just laughing at myself, because I'm like, wow, you were being stingy, not wanting to give him the $20 bill and using the card. And then I ended up giving him $20 anyways. And I was just like, that's just like God or the universe or whatever you want to, like, just kind of like, haha, you should have just given him the $20, man. But it was good, because then I got to talk to him and stuff. But.
No, that's true. And, you know, God is like that. I don't know if you guys believe in God and Buddha. I don't care what you believe in. If you believe in something, for me, if you have a religion, right, you decide on what you want to believe in. The thing is that you believe in a higher power and whatever, and that something's willing to help you out. It doesn't matter what. And if literally you just have faith and that everything's going to turn out okay, and that you're willing to, you know, help out another person, I don't know, that being, whatever that is, God, whatever you want to call it, literally has a path for you. This is your life. You're going to live. This is what's going to happen. And this is going to happen because of this. And it's like, literally, you're like, people think I'm kind of crazy, but that you just explained, it's just like, yeah, that's not a casualty. It's just like,
yeah. And like the other thing is, a lot of people that are, you know, atheists, and they want to say, there's nothing happening. It's all random, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you can choose to believe that if you want to. And some people think that, I'm too smart, or I'm too clever to like believe this bullshit or whatever. And I think that, you know, it's kind of like even if it's not true, even if there is no God, even if there is all this stuff, it's like, how can you go out and say, like, for sure, for a fact, I 100% know that there's no God, and, you know, whatever, you can choose to believe whatever you want, I don't care. But the funny thing is it's almost kind of like, you could argue in medicine and science, the placebo effect works.
Exactly.
Like, when you believe something is going to work, your brain can actually trick you into thinking it works. So even if you know, what if it ends up that there is no heaven, there is no hell, there is no God, there's nothing controlling it. The fact that you in your own brain were believing that, it can be a positive thing regardless of whether it's true or not, because your brain is putting that positivity out.
That's true.
Even if it turns out like, okay, congratulations, atheists, you were right all along.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's like, you're still living kind of this miserable life thinking, woe is me, nothing matters, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'd rather live thinking that there is something like more out there.
Exactly.
And whatever that might be. And I'm still kind of trying to figure out what that is for myself. If I believe in a bearded man in the sky granting everybody wishes like Santa Claus, or if it's more of like an energy controlling the world and good things and bad things just kind of like flow through it. I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
I believe in energy, literally. Everything. Yeah. It's like you can even feel it. Okay, so this is a perfect example. If you think, right, every good and bad thing that has happened in your life, let's think about the bad things. If you go back, you will notice that you either learned from it, you lost, yes, but you learn from it. In this life, you will never lose. You will only learn or win. So bad things make you learn. Like, if it depends on the way you see it. Again, if you don't let it define you, you've learned a lot of things from bad things in your life if you go back. So that's why believing energy, for me, life is just like a huge school, and you come here to learn, and you come here to have bad experiences. A lot of people can define life as hell. That could be too. There's a lot of things that happen here that you don't know why. This is just horrible, right? So for me, it's a school, and you come here to learn and go through bad things and go through good things. And life is just a collection of moments, you know. It's just, if you go back, it's really awesome when you think about a happy moment in your life and you just, hold on to it. And that is life, literally. It's not all happy. It's not pink. It's not flowers and strawberries and what do you want to call it. It's tough, but you just, you work your way through those tough moments in order to get that happy, because it doesn't matter what you're going through. Again, if you decide to overcome it and just to move forward, I guarantee you that you're going to find happiness. That is something that I can guarantee. Doesn't matter if you're going through a breakup. Doesn't matter if you've lost someone. Doesn't matter if you failed at a job, school, or anything. Just move on from it, because I can guarantee everything in this life has a solution. Everything. Doesn't matter how bad it is. Everything has a solution. That's what I think.
Yeah, I definitely, like, I don't know. There's this weird thing that people, I think, have with bad things. Obviously, they want to look at it in a negative light. But it's like, what is the definition of good? What is the definition of happiness? And it's almost kind of like without, I mean, this is kind of cliche. People talk about it all the time. Like, you have to have the lows to appreciate the highs. But what is a high? Because a high to someone else might not be a high to you.
Exactly. That's totally true.
It's like the example. If I gave, I love cars. So if my dad would have given me a Ferrari when I was 16, that was my first car. And then I crash it, and then I get a Mustang or something like that. I would be pissed. You know what I mean? Because I just downgraded in a major way. I just downgraded from one of the best cars in the world to a really good car, but in comparison, just nothing close. But if my dad gave me a Mustang first, and then later in life, I worked really hard and got a Ferrari, that's going to feel so much better. And I'm oh my gosh, this is pure happiness. I finally got my Ferrari. And it's all about framing and the way that you look at it, because one man's trash is another man's treasure.
That's true.
It's like you go to really poor countries that are, people are starving, people don't have Wi-Fi, they don't have power, they don't have all these things, but you still find happiness there.
Exactly.
Because happiness is not dependent on your income, happiness is not dependent on your possessions. Happiness is that contrast between, like, the bad times and the good times, and the people that you love and the people that love you and all that kind of stuff. And one of my friends, Lauren, she was on my podcast, and she was in a program where you're learning basically how to be a missionary. And,
awesome.
And one of the things they always said in that program was to hold on to things loosely, because you're never guaranteed that you're going to have them tomorrow.
That's true.
You might lose everything the next day or whatever. And so you have to learn to, like, appreciate things in the moment. Like, for example, living in Puerto Rico, it's beautiful. You've got the beach, you've got, all these people all around. But then the next day,
it's
hurricane.
disappeared. Yep.
And that's the
true.
risk you run when you live on an island. You know, that's
in the
just
Caribbean.
true. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's just one of the risks that you run. Same thing with living in LA. It's beautiful, but you might have an earthquake and everything falls apart. Like, you know, and so there's always a trade-off, no matter what. There's always going to be a trade-off. You know, you know, you want to live in New York City, but you're going to be all crammed up with people. You want to live in the middle of nowhere, but then you're lonely because there's no one there.
Exactly.
You know, it's like everything is always a trade-off. Everything is always the way that you can frame it. There's always going to be a good, there's always going to be bad. And it's up to you to like determine what that is. 'Cause
exactly.
if you put all of your happiness and joy into the like possessions you have or the circumstance that you're in a moment, those can be taken away. And then what do you have? Like nothing.
No, that's true. And if you think, my mom always says this, if you didn't have bad things in your life, let's imagine you had a life full of happiness and you've never known anything bad, then you won't appreciate happiness. You won't.
That's why like people that are rich are like the most boring people because they've never like had anything. Like, you know, this kid was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He's never actually faced any adversity. He's probably like one of the most boring people on earth. And that's not his fault, but that's just like how it is. Some of the most interesting people I know, like you, for example, you know, like you're, you know, like you said earlier, like people ask me all the time, how are you staying so positive through this? Your dad just passed away. But it's like, you know, when you face adversity and you move through things, that's what builds character, and that's what makes people fascinating people.
Exactly, that's true. And that, like, for me, I'm really interested always in meeting people, and you're the same way. I know.
Yeah.
I always say, and I told this to Andrew. He's like, "Huh, that's true." every person is. They have their own hell and they have their own heavens. Every person is a whole world. You know, you never know what went on. And every time, it's freaky, I know, but every time I see someone, I'm like, oh my God, you know, that person has been through a lot. That doesn't matter what, but that's why when I meet someone, I always try to be nice. You know, I always try to be nice because I don't know what happened 5 minutes ago before meeting me or talking to me. When someone is really pissed, I just try to be nice because I don't know what happened before that. And basically, it's always being mindful because all of you have gone through stuff, all of you. And some have sucked more than others. But again, it's been bad stuff for you, you know, and it hurt you. And again, you just have to move on from it. And I guarantee if you move on from it, like not even a year, like 5 months from now, you're going to look back and you're going to be so proud of yourself. Like, because really I'm talking about my own experience. I've been through a lot of stuff, and yes, it's not the end of the world for me, but I've moved on from it, and my life is not perfect. And I know I'm still going to have things that are going to suck, and I'm going to be sad and whatever. But again, I'm going to continue doing what I do, move on from it. Cause there's like, you know, a reason to everything in life. And that's when energy and the energy talk, you know, comes, you know, correlates with this conversation, because everything has a reason. For me, all that is around you works together to make you learn the lesson that you have to learn this life. That's what I think, but that's me spiritual talking. So let's move on from this, because it's like another subject and everyone like thinks differently about this. So yeah, whatever.
Okay, so I did want to ask you, do you think you'll ever move back to Puerto Rico?
No.
You're always going to stay here, do you think?
No, I don't know. You know, life is... Okay.
I mean, obviously you never know, but...
Exactly.
Like,
you never know.
I don't know. You know, my friend Danielle, she married a guy from France, and like I've been talking to him before, and you know, he was thinking even 2 years before moving here permanently, and now they're married and they live here. You know, he never would have imagined in the future that he was living in America, an American job, all that stuff. He was thinking, yeah, I'll probably just live in France my whole life or whatever.
I think no. Maybe, you know, I'll visit, of course. I was always in the beach. Like, the beach is, like, a big part of me, but...
Island girl, you have to.
Exactly, but, I don't know. I always say, like, sorry, Puerto Ricans, but it's true, that's me. When I always say, my parents used to say that, too. They threw me in the wrong part of the world, because my friends were always like, they found me different. I always said I was a little more Yes, we're American citizens, but when I refer Americanized, I refer to United States.
Yeah,
like this,
continental
because the
United
culture
States.
is different. It is, even
course.
though we're Americans.
I mean, everyone in America primarily speaks English, and everyone in Puerto Rico primarily speaks Spanish. So, I mean,
exactly.
even just that.
I've always I adapted too well when I moved here. Literally, my friends I have Latin friends, but I have American friends, and I talk to them, and I literally feel like we understand each other, and we've been raised completely different worlds, and we have a good relationship. We have like the same, principles about life, and we have the same values. That's really important. I'm like, how can we're so different. I was raised here and you were raised there, and we literally get along so well.
Yeah. It's true though. It's like you, when you find someone that you can connect with on that level, it doesn't matter with the background, the story, all that. Like, I've made connections with people that, in different countries and all that. And when you meet them, you're just like, okay, cool. Like, this is somebody that I vibe with. This is someone that I can connect with. It doesn't matter the differences.
Exactly. So basically, but I always think, I don't know, maybe it was the Disney movies or stuff, but I was really, when I moved here, I really felt like home. Yes, I'm Puerto Rican. I'm from Puerto Rico. I'm like, I am, from the United States, and this is my country. I respect it. I am glad that I've been accepted to it. I love it, but I'm Puerto Rican. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be like, yes,
repping Puerto Rico. Yeah, because that's another thing. People get way too attached to that kind of stuff. Like if you were born in like a little town and you're like proud of coming to that from that town, like that's cool and all that. But it's like kind of played out when it's like, Atlanta baby, like, oh yeah, I gotta rep Atlanta. I'm living here the rest of my life. It's like, you gotta like explore, like I don't, I'm living here right now. I was born in this area, but I don't suspect that I'll live here forever.
No, you're not. Knowing you're not.
Yeah, definitely.
You're gonna be in Amsterdam, because that's what you always say. I'm gonna live in Amsterdam. You're gonna live in Amsterdam.
I'm gonna live in Amsterdam at some point in my life for sure. I don't know if I'll live there forever, but I definitely want to live in Amsterdam or just the Netherlands in general, because Netherlands is bomb. Yeah. We should go. It's awesome.
No, now that I'm going to have, a stable job, now I can save up, and now traveling is the next step.
That's awesome.
So let's see.
I was going to say, you said you're probably not going to live in Puerto Rico. My next question was, if you raise kids, like, would you want them to have that Puerto Rican culture?
Yeah, of course. I'm going to talk to them in Spanish. They have to know Spanish and everything.
Good.
That's like, because it's good for them too.
Good. Yeah, I have like a hard time with that, because I'm always thinking about that. Like when I have kids, I want them to learn like multiple languages, because when you're so young, you can pick it up quickly, because literally a part of your brain that learns languages goes away after a few years.
Exactly, that's true.
And it becomes much harder.
I started learning French, and I just know how to say that I don't speak French. Je ne parle français, je parle espagnol. That's the only, and un, deux, trois, quatre, that's the only thing, and bon appétit. That's about it. I think I can defend myself if I go to France.
No offense to French people, though. French is kind of a less useful language, because the only people that speak it really are Canadians and French people. You know what I mean? Like, Spanish is way more of a useful language. You've got Spain, and then you've got a lot of South America, Latin America. You've got a lot of people in the United States that speak Spanish, lots of Mexican people, lots of Hispanic people. And so it's a little more useful. And then also you have that Latin background. So then if you do need to attempt to speak French or, a different language, you kind of have a little bit of common ground there. Whereas if you learn like Japanese or something, nothing is the same.
No, literally. I think if I learn another language, I would really like to learn French, because French and Spanish, that's why I learned in French class, like the sentences are in the same order. So that's why it's a little bit easier, but it gets really hard. Yeah. Italian, if you know that people who speak,
really
but if they speak Portuguese is really similar, more similar. Like if someone speaks Portuguese and they speak really slow, I can catch up on what they're saying. And the same way me, but I have to speak really slow. Because Puerto Ricans, we tend to speak really fast, like Dominicans. Our Spanish is like quick.
Yeah, I'm like, slow it down. Yeah. But cool. I feel like this is a good place to wrap things up. Do you have any other messages to say to the world? Any last parting words of wisdom? I feel like we dropped a lot of good nuggets for people.
So guys, just don't give up. Doesn't matter where you're at. Doesn't matter literally where you're at. Just keep going. And if you can imagine it, this is cliche, but it's true, you can do it. So, if you're going through a breakup, I'm not going to say what I want to say because it's a bad word, but, move on from it. And if you're going through just a hard time, losing a job, losing a person in your life, or all of that, you're going to get through this. You've gone through, if you think about it, you've been through worse things than this and you've overcome it. So just keep going and whatevs. You can do it.
There we go. Awesome.
That's it.
Cool. Well, if people want to message you or get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
You guys can add me on Instagram because I really don't use my Snapchat. It is Gabby, Gaby, and then Michelle, Michelllee, all one word, and you'll see me. It's private, but I'll accept you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, anything else?
That'll be all. So.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks for being on the show. It was really fun.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for inviting me.
All right, bye. Guys. Boom. There you go, folks. Another episode. That was fun. Had a great time talking with Gabby. I want to thank her again for all of her amazing stories and being brave enough to share some of those stories that it might not have been super comfortable to talk about, but that's a part of what is so important about this podcast, talking about vulnerable stuff and getting it out there. Getting so many positive comments about the podcast. I can't thank you all enough for giving me a platform and listening to my little show. It's crazy that thousands of people will listen to this. And if you enjoyed this episode, I have a feeling that you would really enjoy episode 20 with my friend Lindsay Carino. And that episode has so many parallels with this episode. It's actually kind of crazy, but just to name a few, Lindsay recently packed up her life and moved to Washington, D.C., where she recently got a job at one of DC's biggest healthcare and tax lobbying firms. Super proud of her. And also on that episode, Lindsay talked about how her dad, who is a huge part of her life, also recently passed away. So while that is not necessarily a super fun topic, Lindsay also had a lot of really powerful things to say about that as well. So like I said, I think you will also really enjoy episode 20. Go check it out. Let me know what you think. Episode 54 is coming up next with my friend Abigail Holtz. And Abby is a world traveler and she's a yoga instructor, and she's dedicated to bringing Ashtanga yoga to those struggling with drug and alcohol addiction. And she works with the Trini Foundation to provide yoga as a tool to aid in the recovery process and help those who are suffering to maintain long-term sobriety. And Abby's gone through a lot of, I guess you could say, trials and tribulations, drug and alcohol abuse, not the most ideal home life growing up, and just in general, some things that most people wouldn't be really envious of going through, I guess. But I believe, and I think Abby believes, that those experiences have really shaped her into this really strong person who's able to use these experiences to help other people. And she's doing really important stuff with the Trini Foundation. That episode will be up in just a couple of days, so stay tuned. It was a really awesome episode. If you want to support the podcast, which I'm sure you do, go to the Apple Podcasts app on your iPhone or the computer if you don't have an iPhone, and please rate the podcast 5 stars. It's really helpful. Also, if you want to give me any feedback, that is a great place to do that. You can leave a review, and I happen to read all of those, so that's probably the best way to let me know what you like, what you don't like, and all that kind of stuff. And also, those reviews go a long way. iTunes is the #1 place where people discover new podcasts. So please help a brother out and take a couple of seconds to do that. Also, if you want to follow me, you can go to my website, andrewdeitch.com, and you can find the links to all of my social media stuff. But thanks for listening, everybody. It really means a lot that you guys are listening, and I'm constantly humbled. So thank you guys so much, and I will see you in a couple days on episode 54.
I always say, and I told this to Andrew, he's like, oh, that's true. Every person.